Hello students, welcome to my live teaching learning session of BSOG 173 Rethinking Development. BSOG 173 paper name is Rethinking Development. And today we will discuss about understanding development, which is the part of unit 1 and in block 1 topic. Understanding development. Development is a very broader concept. Development means to move on for betterment. Put forward the way in which you live better life. Development means, for point of view of the country, if national income of the country increases and per capita income also increases, simultaneously social welfare of the country people increases, then it is called development. So development is a very broader concept. In this block 1 and unit 1, you will understand the concept of development and what are the various dimensions of development. So let us start from the first topic, development. Under this unit, understanding development, we will discuss about the notions related to development, evolution and progress, growth, the meaning of growth, changes and modernization, development, the conceptual framework and the meaning of development, how we can define development, and how many people and UNDP define this concept of development, and what are the various dimensions of development. There are so many dimensions of development like economic development, political development, social development, sustainable development, territorial development, and inclusive development. At present, inclusive development, sustainable development is very important concept in contemporary world. So in this unit, we will talk about all these topics of understanding development. Now, what is the meaning of development? In simple words, development means improvement. Development means growing process in a needed direction. Development means way of moving forward. Development means not doing same mistake again and again or twice. Development means improving the standard of living of the country people. Development means a part of daily life. Everybody wants to develop own self, and country wants to develop whole activities of the economy like production, consumption, exchange, distribution, and all those activities in which all economy involved. Development means progress. Development means freedom to grow. Development means bettering yourself, and it's a never ending process. That's why development is called a continuous process, a long term process in which, in simple words, never ending process in which we use, we find out the way of moving forward. Development means advancement, modernization, technological upgradation, and development means grows within. So all these things are involved in the concept of development. So development is a multi-dimensional concept. It's not a very simple concept, it's not a very narrow concept, it's a very broader concept. And in this concept, so many things are included, and so many aspects, so many dimensions are included in development. Next is understanding development is the ideal introduction to the major issue and critical debates about development in the contemporary world. You know that development is a very broader concept, and at present in contemporary world it play very important role, and we must have to know about the meaning of development and the various aspects of development or various dimensions of development. It's a perfectly suited to students. It offers an accessible overview of the key topics that have come to define this crucial subject. Drawing on a wide range of case studies from across the globe, the book explores such areas as health and population growth. If medical facilities are improving, educational facilities are increasing, and human capital formation is going on, population is growing, population play both role in the economy. One side it is an asset, and on the other it is burden also. So, population duly affects economic growth on a positive way and in a negative way. And conflict and security, global inequality and poverty, fair trade and trade liberalization, gender and education, foreign aid and debt, and sustainability and the environment. All these areas, which is not only related with particular country, it's related with all over the countries all of the world and across the globe also. So this understanding development, this concept, this unit explore so many areas like health and population growth, fair trade and trade liberalization, gender and education, foreign aid and debt, sustainability and the environment, and global inequality and poverty, and conflicts and security. If in each and every country health and medical facilities are available, population is growing at a lower rate, there is no conflict, and all people are living in a secure world, and there is no inequality exist in a country, and there is reduction in poverty and no hunger, no starvation, no poverty, more employment opportunities, fair trade policy, and trade is liberalized, if there is no discrimination between gender, like male and female, and educational facilities are too much available, and foreign aid is received by the country, and debt burden is less, and environment is not degraded, environment is protected, and development is sustainable, then it will be called real development. So all these areas explored in this unit, understanding development. Now next is the process of development is very complicated. It's a multi-dimensional process. It's a continuous process. It's a long-term process, and it brings uneven and unequal results to different sections and communities in the society. So the process of development is complex, multidimensional, and brings uneven and unequal results to different sections and communities in the society. Therefore, understanding development and its processes requires an understanding of the pedagogy and ideology related to growth, development, and prosperity involving the socio-political and cultural metrics. In another way, to acquire understanding of development requires the indicators used by the national and international sources, agencies, and bodies to measure the phenomena of development. Such indicators may be otherwise regarded as development indicators. In economics, development indicators are mainly three. One is real national income. Second is real per capita income. Per capita income is calculated by dividing real per capita income to population or mid-year population. And third indicator is social welfare. So if all are increases, like real per capita income increases, real national income of the country increases, and society is getting welfare and whole society betterment, for the betterment of the whole society, government has taken so many initiatives like educational facilities, medical facilities, and reduction in infant mortality rate. And if life expectancy increases and poverty reduces, then country people will get more betterment and more or higher living standard. In this case, development will definitely achieved by the country. So there are so many indicators which define what is the meaning of development. Next is the notion of progress. On the one hand, is used to mean to step forward. Progress means to step forward. Progress means to do better. Progress means improvement. Progress means increasing the way of living standard. So the fundamental meaning of progress is the forward march or advancement towards a desirable ends. There may be as many types of progress as there are desirable ends. Whatever you are desire for anything, if you are doing more efforts for fulfilling your desire, it means you are going on the path of progress. So the meaning of progress means to step forward or to march for advancement, for fulfilling the desirable ends. Next is the meaning of growth, changes, and modernization. What is the meaning of growth, changes, and modernization? Growth is a narrow concept. Growth means if national income increases and per capita income increases, it means economy is growing. But here we are not studying the aftermaths of the growth, and we are not including here the changes. Changes may be structural changes may be technological changes, and changes may be institutional changes. There are three types of changes which included in economic development but not included in economic growth. That's why economic growth is a narrow concept and economic development is a broader concept. In this section, we will discuss the different connotations of development as in general perceived in the post-World War second period. We shall also discuss the impact of these notion of development in the society briefly. Development as multiple connotation. There are several connotations about development such as growth, development as change or transformation, and development as modernization. So all these concepts will be defined clearly in this unit. Now, what is the meaning of growth? Growth, understanding, development. In this, if we want to understand the concept of development, then we must have to know about what is the meaning of growth. In economic terms, development as growth refers to an increased capacity to produce consumption goods and a concomitant increase in consumption pattern. Second is an increased ability to fulfill basic human needs like food, cloth, shelter, education, health, sanitation. At present, six things are included in our basic needs, which are very necessary for each and every person. If a person is not able to fulfill these basic requirements or basic needs, that person is called poor. What are our basic needs? Like food, cloth, shelter, education, health, and sanitation. So if a person is able to fulfill these basic requirements, if a country people all are able to fulfill these basic requirements or basic needs, then we can say that economy is growing. And third is, in terms of growth can be growth can be defined in terms of expansion of possibilities and increase in individual choices, capabilities, and functioning. So growth can be defined in these three different ways. One is increased capacity to produce consumption goods so that consumer can get maximum goods and services for fulfillment of their needs or wants, and increase ability to fulfill basic requirements like food, clothes, shelter, education, health, sanitation. And in terms of expansion of possibilities, an increase in individual choices, capabilities, and functioning, then it will be called growth. So growth is a first thing which is necessary for the achievement of economic development. But only economic growth is not able to complete this concept, economic development. Economic growth is a part of economic development, but we can't say that economic development only include economic growth. Economic development includes so many changes also besides economic growth. For example, the changes are technical changes like technically advancement, technically upgradation is also very necessary for the achievement of economic development. Institutional changes must be done by the government like land reforms, consolidation of land holdings, ceilings of land holdings, cooperative farming, abolition of jamidari system. These all changes are included in institutional change. And structural changes means to improve infrastructural facilities for the achievement of economic development. So, economic development is a very broader concept. In this concept, economic growth as well as three changes, one is structural change, second is technological change, third is institutional change. All these changes are included in economic growth. Then we can achieve this economic development, or we can define this concept economic development. So, economic development is a multi-dimensional concept and it's a broader concept. So many other factors are included in economic development but not included in economic growth. Now, next is change and transformation. What, what is the meaning of change and transformation here? Any kind of alteration in the society is called as a change. You know that word is change or alternative or any movement, any flexibility, any variability. Change is variability, change is fluctuation, change is any movement or alteration in the society is called as a change. Change is value neutral concept, whereas development is a value laden concept. The notion of development is, in other words, the process of desired change. Development as change and transformation refers to the economic, social, political, and cultural processes of change in human societies. So, development, if we define development as change and transformation, it means change may be in economic process or in economic progress, social progress, politically, economy should be fair and less corrupted and less bureaucratic, and cultural processes of change also included in human societies. So, development as change and transformation refers to the economic, social, political, and cultural processes of change in the human society. So, this is the meaning of change and transformation, which is included in economic development. Now, what is the meaning of modernization? Modernization means improvement, or modernization means if we are using modern technologies, advanced technologies, and if we are moving forward, and if we are adopting those technologies and those way of living which are following by the rest of the world and other nations, then it will be called modernization. Modernization is very necessary in each and every sector of the economy, like primary sector, secondary sector, and in tertiary sector. At the time of independence, bullock or plow, these agricultural inputs were used by the farmers. But at present, modernization come in agriculture sector. That's why modern technologies like tractor, thresher, and harvesters are using by the farmers to produce more and more crops. Same as in industrial sector, more advanced technologies are uh, using by the business entrepreneurs for increasing at industrial product and output level. And in infrastructure or in service sector, banking, insurance, transportation, communication, in all these areas of the tertiary sector, modernization has also come, and modern equipments, modern technologies are being using by the government and in all offices of the service sector. So often modernization being seen as a means to development. In the economic realm, it refers to the process of industrialization, urbanization, and technological transformation of agriculture. In the political realm, it requires a rationalization of authority in general and a rationalizing bureaucracy in particular. In the social realm, it is marked by the weakening of ascriptive ties and the primacy of personal achievement in advancement. And in the cultural realm, it is the growth of science and secularization along with an expansion of the literate population that makes for what has been referred to as disenchantment of the world. So modernization concept is also very broader, and it has different meaning in different areas and different aspects. Generally, modernization is considered or it means to development. And in the economic, modernization can be defined in terms of economic, political, social, and cultural aspects, and different way we can define this concept of modernization. Modernization means the process of industrialization, urbanization, and technological transformation in agriculture. This is the definition of modernization in an economic aspect. In political aspect, it requires a rationalization of authority in general and a rationalizing bureaucracy in particular. And in social aspect, modernization means weakening of ascriptive ties and the primacy of personal achievement in advancement. And in cultural aspect, it is the growth of science and secularization along with the expansion of the literate or educated population that make for what has been referred to as an disenchantment of the world according to Marlin in 1990, defined by this concept modernization. Now, next is development conceptual framework. Development conceived along as the economic growth is an all-inclusive phenomena. In development concept, we include both quantitative as well as qualitative aspects of the economy. Its quantitative consequences are qualitative and explanatory to the large extent. For example, if we limit ourselves to solely the economy of development, it may further add to justify that the same implies more than economic growth and leading to several social consequences having a lot of socio-cultural and political ramifications. However, economic development refers to the growth accompanied by qualitative change in the structure of production and employment, generally referred to as structural changes, according to Simon Kuznets. In 1966, Simon Kuznets defined this concept of economic development. He said that economic development is a continuous process in which we include both the aspects of the economy, like quantitative and qualitative, both are included in economic development. And economic development includes economic growth as well as other changes like structural change, technological change, and institutional changes. That's why we say that economic development is a broader concept, it's a multi-dimensional concept, and it's also a complicated concept because it includes so many things. Or in economics, it has generally three indicators. One is in increase in real national income, second is increase in per capita income, and third is increase in social welfare. If all increases continuously, then we can say that our economy is developing and we have achieved higher growth rate of economic development. Next is, therefore, we can say that development is more than a mere economic change, and it is not purely an economic phenomena, rather an inclusive, it's a multi-dimensional process involving rationalization, reorganization, and reorientation of the entire economic and social system towards ensuring a just, egalitarian, and democratic setup. So, development is not a concept of economic development. We can't define only that development is related with economic development. Development is a multi-dimensional process. It's a very large phenomena, and it is more than a mere economic change, and it is not purely an economic phenomena, rather an inclusive and multi-dimensional process also included in this concept, like rationalization, reorganization, and reorientation of whole or entire economic social system of the economy, and democratic setup should also exist in the economy for achieving this development. Next is definition of development. Different persons define this concept according to Gunnar Myrdal, very comprehensively deliberated the concept of development. Different person define this concept in a different way. In this definition of development, firstly, the development concept was defined by Gunnar Myrdal. To him, or according to him, by development means the movement upward or of the entire social system, and he believed this is the only logically tenable definition this social system encloses besides the so-called economic factors. All non-economic factors, including all sorts of consumption by various goods, groups of people, consumption provided collectively, educational and health facilities and levels, the distribution of power in society, and more generally, economic, social, and political stratification, broadly speaking, institutions and attitudes to which we must add as an exogenous set of factors induced policy measures applied in order to change one or several of these endogenous factors. This concept of development was defined by Myrdal in 1974. According to him, this concept is very broader, and in this concept, development means the movement forward or upward of the entire social system. Not only economic factors influences the economic development, non-economic factors also affects the process of development. And in non-economic factors, we include like political factors, social factors, religious factors, cultural factors. All these factors are a fact to the development process. So, besides economic factor, all those non-economic factors which influence the concept of development are defined by Gunnar Myrdal. Next is according to Todaro. Todaro was also a good or very good economist. According to him, according to Todaro, what is the meaning of development? Todaro defined that development is a multi-dimensional process which involve the reorganization, reorientation of the entire economic and social system. It includes both system, economic and social, both. But Medal only included social system, not economic system. So this is the basic difference between the definition of Medal and Todaro. Todaro said that development is a multidimensional process which involves the reorganization and reorientation of the entire economic and social system. He argues that development is a physical reality and a state of mind in which society has, through some combinations of social, economic, and political process, secured the way of obtaining better life. And what things he include in his definition of development? One is raising people's standard of living. If we are talking about development, it means the standard of living of the country people must be rise. For example, how standard of living, we can say that people's standard of living is rising if their income level is increasing, their consumption pattern is also increasing, levels of food, medical services, education through relevant growth processes, then we can say that economy is developing and we are achieving this concept of development. Second is creating conditions conducive to the growth of people's self esteem or self respect through the establishment of social, political, and economic system and institutions which promote human dignity and respect. It also included in the concept of development. And third is increasing people's freedom to choose. Either it may be freedom to produce, a producer must have freedom to produce, and consumer must have freedom to choose any commodity, whatever they want to choose for their consumption level. So, increasing people's freedom to choose by enlarging the range of their choices variable. For example, varieties of goods and services should be available in the market for consumer so that consumer have different choices and consumer have freedom to make a choice in between of all available goods and services. So, according to Todaro, the concept of development can be defined as a multidimensional process in which reorganization and reorientation of both or entire economic and social system are included, and according to him, society or economy will grow or economy will develop when people's standard of living will rise, and when the uh, conditions, that type of conditions created by the economy which conducive to the growth of people's self-esteem or self-respect. And third is increasing people's freedom to choose by enlarging the range of choices variables. So, this is the definition of development according to Todaro. Next is according to Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen is a Nobel Prize winner economist. He got Nobel Prize in 1999 and 19 and Amartya Sen said that development. He defined the concept of development in 1999. According to him, development is about the expansion of citizens' capabilities and fulfilling their entitlement as a citizen and individual. Amrita Sen has given more contribution in poverty, and he uh, he gave the measure of poverty, how poverty can be measured according to Sen index. Poverty can be measured in different way. We know that what is the meaning of poverty. Poverty can be defined when people are not able to fulfill their basic requirements or basic needs. Then we can say that country people are poor. So according to Amrita Sen, development is about the expansion of citizens' capabilities and fulfilling their entitlement as a citizen and as an individual. Further, it requires increasing citizens' accesses and opportunities to the things they have reason to value. His view is based on capabilities enhancement by advocating freedom, economic opportunities, political freedoms, social facilities, transparency, guarantees, and protective security. So, according to Amrita Sen, development is also a very broader concept in which citizens, so many citizens' capabilities and fulfilling their entitlement is included, and not only for whole citizen as an individual person and whole society should get all the facilities, either it may be social facilities, economic opportunities, transparency, guarantees, and protective securities, and freedom, and all these things uh, should be available to each and every person of the country. Then we can define this concept of development. Next is Kofi Annan. According to Kofi Annan, who is the Secretary of General of United Nations, while defining this concept of development, draws the disparity or inequality in the life of people in developed and developing countries. There is a wide difference between developed and developing countries. In developed countries, real national income, per capita income, standard of living, all are higher, but in developing countries, all are increasing but not at too much high as in developed countries. So, in developed countries, less poverty, less unemployment problem, and more standard of living, more life expectancy is the main feature of developed countries, but less per capita income, less national income, more population growth, more poverty, unemployment problem, less education rate, less life expectancy are the main feature of developing countries. He vehemently spoke about the freedom and the right of the poor in his report named in larger freedom. To him, or according to him, a world of interdependence can't be safe or just unless people everywhere are freed from want and fear and are able to live in dignity. Today, as never before, the rights of the poor are as fundamental as those of the rich, and a broad understanding of them is an important parameter to the security of the developed world. as it is to that of the developing world. According to Kofi Annan, he said this definition and he said this word in 2005 to define the concept of development. Now, next is the dimensions of development. What are the various dimensions of development? As we say that development is not a narrow concept, it's a very broader concept, it's a very uh, more complicated and multi-dimensional concept in which human development, social development, cultural development, political development, economic development, all types of development are included. That's why development is a very broader concept in which we will explain all these dimensions of the development, and these dimensions are human development, social development, cultural development, political development, economic development, inclusive development. Now, first is what is the meaning of dimensions of development? Development in general terms, it means a new stage of changing situation which can be categorized and elaborated in different themes, framework and perspectives. These perspectives and thematic narrations centered on a focus and idealistic context, which may or not fit into a single frame of reference to development of a group or nation or community. A few and important dimensions are discussed below, because we know that there are various dimensions of development, and now we will discuss about the different dimensions of development and what things are included in different dimensions of development. First is economic development. This is the first dimension of development, that is economic development. Traditionally, economic development is a kind and form of development which is mostly centered on economic activities and growth principles. The rise in per capita income, GDP is gross domestic product, and gross domestic product is the sum total of all final goods and services which are produced by the country people or resident and non-resident of the people in a domestic territory in an accounting year. And GNP, in which net factor income from abroad is also included, is the indicator of economic development and growth. This takes the economic system in a rising speed and condition. Indeed, growth defined in this way can be seen more of the result of an economic development process. For example, the transformation of the structure of an economic system. Economic growth can be defined only in terms of increase in national income, increase in per capita income, but economic development can be defined in terms of increase in national income, increase in per capita income, and it includes so many transformation of the structural changes, institutional changes, and technological changes, and social welfare of the country. All these things are included in the concept of economic development. So, economic development includes economic growth as well as all changes or transformations of the structure of an economic system, which may be technological, which may be institutional, and which may be structural. Next is social development. Social development is also a good dimension or second dimension of economic development. Development is not an isolated phenomena. It has to be there in society and for betterment of people in the society. Therefore, development is a social and sociological phenomena, but development which is otherwise considered as unfolding or to grow or getting matured, referring to an instrument of action, an act or processes for progressive improvements in the living condition and quality of life of the country people. So social development must included in the concept of development. We should develop in all aspects of the country. Either it may be economic aspect, economy should be developed for social aspect in which betterment of country people and standard of living of the country people, less poverty or reduction in poverty, less inequality of income and wealth, or more betterment of quality of life of the country people in which good health facilities and educational facilities should also be improved in the country, then society people can live happy life and better life. So development is not an isolated phenomena. In this concept, development, social dimension tells us about the living condition or betterment of the country people, progressive improvement in living conditions, and the quality of life of the country people must be developed. Next is human development. Human development is also a good or very best dimension of development according to the United Nations Development Program UNDP. United Nations Development Program. Human development is a process of analyzing people's choice. In, in principle, these choices can be infinite and changes over time. But at all levels of development, the three essential area, the three essential ones are there for people. Human Development Index include three main things. One is life expectancy. It means to lead a long and healthy life. Second is to acquire knowledge. It means country people should be highly educated. Third is to have access to resources needed for a decent standard of living. So, human development includes all these three main components. One is life expectancy, second is education and knowledge, and third is to have access to resources needed for a decent standard of living. Human development does not end here. Additional choices ranging from political, economic, and social freedom to opportunities for being creative and productive and enjoying personal self respect and guaranteed human rights are also inseparable part of human development. So, human development is a very broader concept and it's also included in the concept of development. Human beings can be developed when more and more educational facility and medical facilities are available in the country. Human Development Index included three main indicators or three main components in which life expectancy, knowledge and education, and resources needed for decent standard of living all are included. But this human development does not end here because this is also a very broader concept in which some political, economic, and social freedom to opportunities are also included. Next is sustainable development. Sustainable development is also very important dimension of development. Sustainable development, which considers the long-term perspective of the socio-economic system to ensure that improvements occurring in the short term will not be determined or detrimental to the future status or development potential of the system. For example, development will be sustainable or environmental, social, financial, and other grounds. The concept of sustainable development was first introduced by Brundtland Commission in 1987, who defined this sustainable development when uh, if it meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. That is called sustainable development. So sustainable development is also important, a very good dimension of development. Next is territorial development. Territorial development, this dimension of development refers to a territorial system intended as a set of interrelationship between rural areas and urban areas. In some countries, there is no gap in between of rural and urban areas. Most of the country people are living in urban areas and less of the country people are living in rural areas. But in India, here territorial development is less. That's why in India at present most of the country people, near about 70% of the country people are still living in rural areas. Only 30% people are living in urban areas. So territorial development should also be included in this concept of development, and territorial development is a very important dimension of this development concept, and its main intent to set as a interrelationship between urban and rural areas in a space characterized by the existence of poles of attraction for human activities like production and consumption of goods and services, but also cultural and social life, and are connected by information system and transport infrastructures. Territorial development of a specific region space can be achieved by exploiting the specific socio-economic, environmental, institutional potential of the area and its relationship with external subject. Then this type of development can be achieved. Next is inclusive development, which is also very important dimension of this development. At present, economy is developing, but not inclusively. Exclusively, economy is growing, but not inclusively. This new term called inclusive development concept is now added in the Dictionary of Developmental Studies in the very recent past of the society. It is precisely because of slow progress in living standard and widening inequality, because of which the World Economic Forum System initiative on shaping the future of economic progress last year introduced a new economic policy framework, which is otherwise termed as inclusive development. The focus is to have more inclusive and sustainable development model of growth and development to promote high living standard of the country people. Now we can conclude from the today's session in which we have understand the concept of development and the different dimensions of development. You know that the concept of development is by no means unproblematic. Development has been described as a process of change from the traditional way of living of rural communities to progressive ways of living to modern society. And development, the main aim is to develop themselves on the basis of their capabilities and capacities and resources. Development is more concerned with the investment in human beings, especially in the areas of education, health, social welfare, etc. So each and every country people should participate in making political and economic decisions involving their welfare. Hence, development in Amritya Sen, according to his words, social development is the equality of social opportunities, which means there is important role interplay between economic and non-economic factors which can affect economic development, and to create adequate social space and also generate social opportunities for our understanding of this dynamic of social development. Thank you.